Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to We're the Game. I'm Michael, and that's Luke. And we are going to be talking about the Arizona Cardinals and their game against the New Orleans Saints here at the end of week one, and looking ahead at what they will be doing in week two. The Cardinals obviously are looking to get off to a solid start on a game away against the Saints. Luke had already been talking about last week how this might be a trap game, and you don't want to walk into it in that regard. You pulled off the win. It seemed like there were a lot of positives, and there were some intrigues to look at. As you kind of watched through this game, what did you see? What did you enjoy in this win that you pulled out in New Orleans?
I enjoyed the ending. No, I mean, it was great to have football back in general, of course, seeing the Cardinals out there. Kyler not turning the ball over was nice, because that's always one of those things I don't say you worry about. I'm not trying to dog the guy, but it's been known to happen. Things like that. So again, it's weird for a Cardinals fan. I feel like we're coming into this game, or reviewing this game often, and trying to justify why we didn't win by more, rather than just celebrating the fact that we won, which kind of alludes to our expectations for this year, and not just for us, but for the Saints, I suppose, as well. Waking up to the news that, Kyler Murray's on the injury report with an illness. It's great. Thank you, week one.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. So that wasn't great. And you could chalk up a little bit of him just being a little off, less accurate on a couple of throws, to maybe that.
Sure.
We don't know what the illness was. It could have been, it could have been anything. We just don't know. But it was enough for them to say something. So I don't think it was just like, you had a cold. So that was something. Things I was excited to see. It was good to see Trey Benson get loose. That was like one of my main highlights, was watching him, trot down the sideline quite well. He couldn't quite finish it off, but still he put us in scoring position, and that was nice. Will Johnson is the number one thing that stands out there. I don't know why my brain was looking for it. It's like there was one guy who was like, Will Johnson, who looked like a Pro Bowler. He had an interception that got brought back due to a penalty. It was a little bit ticky-tack, but that was kind of the name of the day with penalties, because we had more penalties called on us, on this game, than any other game this week. And there were a lot of penalties called this week, but we had 22 accepted penalties between the Saints and the Cardinals. So, yay. Thanks, Scott Novak, I believe it is. Appreciate you. Hope to never see you again. But even with that, Will Johnson just played great. He had one where he blew up Chris Olave on this little screen pass, and Olave clearly had no idea that it was coming. One of the things they've touted about Will Johnson is he's not necessarily this Patrick Peterson-esque athletic freak. He just has insane instincts, kind of like Tyrann Mathieu kind of instincts more. Obviously, he's not a safety; he's a corner, but like he's gonna read a play and try to go for it. He kind of reminds me of Deron Bland a little bit, with the concerns being he might get beat on a double move if he's trying to be clever. But at the same time, when he guesses right, he's gonna make a play that's going to change the game. And so we didn't see some like nasty pick six in this one. The pick he had was basically an arm punt, to be completely honest. But that was the player that really stood out to me for the Cardinals. For the Saints, it was definitely the Saints offensive line. That we did get one sack from I think it was Baron Browning. Suddenly lost, but I believe it was.
That's right.
Good job, Baron Browning. But other than that, man, they really held Spencer up quite well and allowed them to run any kind of game plan at all. Their run game looks good. Alvin Kamara, at least for the start of the season, still has young man legs, at least for a minute. We'll see how he is week 12 and beyond. But for now, he still looks really good. But, those were kind of my standout players, I guess, on both sides. So, but I mean, again, we've talked about week one to kind of get into the next topic. Week one's just weird. It's more like week 4 of the preseason, where teams just aren't quite in rhythm yet. They haven't played real game speed, getting hit by people running at full game speed and those kind of things. And so it's a little bit funky. And I'm just glad we got out with the win when I look back on it. Yeah, I wish we had won like 30-12, but I will take 20-13 every game this season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting because I think heading into the halftime, I mean, all of the momentum was really the Cards, and y'all were heading in. It was like, okay, y'all are chugging away. You kind of come out, and it just felt like the offense maybe tapered off in its efficacy in the second half. Do you see that as something that was a shift for the Saints on their defensive approach, or do you feel like, hey, maybe like you were saying, maybe Kyler was under the weather, or maybe it was some other game shift on the Cardinal side to just say, hey, let's be more cautious, more careful in the second half, protect the ball, protect the lead kind of approach?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. If Kyler was sick, there's a high likelihood that by the second half, he was not as energetic as he was in the first half. That's kind of normal. You're just going to have less energy. Even if you've got something to try to remove the symptoms, it is still going to drain you. Every illness does this.
Yeah.
And so like him running out of energy in the second half makes some sense. There were some throws that he missed in the second half, I believe in particular. I'm thinking he doesn't normally miss it or miss it by that much. He will miss a throw now and again, of course, just like everyone,
Sure.
but it did feel a little bit like that. And Drew Petzing is the kind of guy that's like, oh, it's halfway through the third quarter and we're up by 7. I think I'll just run out the clock. And like, that's foolish, but okay.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and it worked. So I can't really complain with results too much. But it did feel like we took our foot off the gas. And again, I'm going to credit the Saints somewhat because this is clearly them making second half adjustments to some degree. Like they did some things right in the locker room that they changed some things. They were able to block a field goal. Like they came out and kind of played with their hair on fire. And that's another thing. Kind of examining this from out, like zoomed out, it felt like the Cardinals came into this game trying not to screw up week 1. They're like, hey, we've got a plan. Let's stick to the plan. And let's just stay calm and play our game. And the Saints came in thinking, if we can win this game, it will prove everyone wrong. It will fire up the team and change our expectations for ourselves for the year. So it kind of felt like they were playing their Super Bowl this week. They were flying around tomorrow. What is it? Tomorrow, Douglas. I just lost his name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Davis.
Tomorrow Davis.
Mm-hmm.
He was flying around everywhere. Cameron Jordan, you couldn't tell that he was as old as he is. He was playing like he was 28. And so like some of that stuff, I don't think that they're going to be able to do throughout the year. I think they were trying to get some momentum now to try to put themselves on a positive path. We'd probably come off as a very beatable team. And to be fair, they got relatively close to beating us. So when I really assess this game, that's kind of the stuff that I'm seeing is like, even though we won, it's the, hey, what went wrong? Because we very nearly lost to a team that's projected to be a bottom 5 team or a top 5 pick, whatever way you want to spin that in next year's draft. And that's kind of what I saw. I'm kind of curious what, like from a non-Cardinals directly Cardinals fan, what was your impression of what happened here?
Well, if you mean specifically like the change of pace there or the game in general?
In general, more.
Well, I mean, in general, it just seemed like a lot of things almost maybe it did to me have the feel of, hey, look at all these things going great. Like now we're going to protect ourselves, try not to get injured, all of that. That's the feel that it kind of had heading into the second half. But I mean, it's really not that different in many ways than how I felt about the Cowboys game as well. It's like there was a real shift at that point in time. So I don't know if that was a shift, again, unique to the Cards making a decision to be more cautious and careful, protect the lead, or if that was on the Saints, like saying, all right, guys, all or nothing, right? Kind of an approach. One of the things that was, there were lots of positives on the Cardinal side. Hey, Trey, you called the Trey Benson, like, hey, he's a guy to watch going into this. That was obviously a great call. He made a huge play. The Marvin Harrison Jr., like, is he going to be one of the top guys in touchdown catches this year? A lot of great things. But Kyler getting sacked 5 times is an unusual stat because Kyler, he does sometimes walk into some sacks, but not 5. And so there was something else going on when you have an elusive quarterback going on, and he gets sacked 5 times with the team. I think they've got some good players on defense, but what do you think is the main factor that led to that? And I guess with that, as you look ahead towards Jacksonville, how do we think that that's going to be addressed or changed maybe?
Some of those sacks were just, they played really well on the defensive line. And apparently, I was listening to A.Q. Shipley, who's a former offensive lineman for the Cardinals and I think the Bucks, and I forget where he came before that. But he does some Cardinals talk as well. And he was talking about, like, where did these sacks come from? And he said a couple of them were Cam Jordan. Like, you'd see a boot or like a fake or something like that. And he's like, I'm not biting at all. I don't care if the running back, I'm going to tackle the quarterback. And he came up heads, like it came up heads like twice, basically. And so it's the way to go. And when it works, you look like a genius.
That's awesome.
And he did. Yeah. So some of it was that. I do think some of it might have been coverage issues. Like they were, there were a couple.
Yeah.
We really still have two main targets: Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. That's about it. If on a certain play, those guys' routes aren't working or you've guarded them quite well, then you have set yourself up for a potential coverage sack. We really don't have amazing, in my view, target number 3, target number 4 kind of options. So we're still waiting for that to emerge, and we'll see if it does. But it felt like that kind of added up to some of the sacks, and maybe our offensive line was just a bit sluggish. I don't fully know. I kind of need a bigger sample size. I try not to judge an offensive line or a defensive line off of one game. I mean, the Eagles didn't get a sack at all. I mean, are they suddenly the worst pass rush in the NFL? Like, I don't know. I need a bigger sample.
Okay with it.
So, but yeah, 5 sacks is alarming, and it needs to be addressed. So I'm hoping that this week they really button up there. Hopefully with Kyler Murray feeling better, maybe that adds into it. I mean, it's not the whole thing. Kyler feeling sick is bad, but that doesn't attribute to 5 sacks. So, or that doesn't account for all 5 sacks. So, yeah, it is alarming, and they definitely need to fix it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I misspoke there when I said Jacksonville. I was thinking about the Jags playing your team coming up, the Panthers. Mm-hmm. When you look ahead at this game, do you similarly feel like this could also be a trap game heading into week 2, or do you see this as more of a straightforward kind of game, I guess?
Every game against the Panthers is a trap game for the Cardinals. Every single one of them. I don't care if we're 14-0 and they're 0-14. We might lose to the Panthers. They just have some weird zodiac chemistry with us, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And I'm always worried about them. This year, I think we match up better against them than we did last year. Also, when we played them last year, we were starting to really have some injuries rack up, and they were relatively okay at the time. No one's completely healthy at week 12 or whenever it was, but 14, it doesn't matter. But I feel like we have added to our team in such ways that counter some of the stuff that they have done in their additions. Like their main addition this year is Tedderell McMillan, at least from what I see. Like he's their first round pick, and he played fairly well against Jacksonville. He wasn't prolific, but he's figuring things out. I'm sure he's adjusting to NFL game speed and all that. And so I feel like now with Will Johnson, if he's going to continue playing the way he's been playing, or he played in week 1 at least, I'm not super worried about Tedderell McMillan. So I don't know that they have an element to their game that truly scares me. Chuba Hubbard's going to have himself a game. We're still not running back proof by any means or measure. Sure. But if Will's going to turn into Will and we can start stacking the box, I'm a bit more happy with this. So we'll see. I don't know that we're going to be able to force 2 interceptions out of Bryce Young the way that the Jaguars were, but I wouldn't be shocked if we're able to turn them over a little. That's one thing that kind of disappointed me about the Saints game, is we weren't able to turn them over even once, I don't think. So that's one thing I'd be looking to, is try to force them into some bad decisions, be it a strip sack or whatever. We need to be creating more defensive plays.
So. Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like right now, and like you've already pointed out, first games are really hard to assess the overall team. And so it's hard to take away with Carolina what is and is not working and going on there, because a lot of things did not seem to be working or going on there in their first game against the Jaguars, who coming into the season had a lot of question marks themselves. But yeah, the Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, it's like, to me, that's still their strength. And so if you can make them, and I think that's what the Jags did, if you can make them be one-dimensional, and you stop the run and you force them to pass, I think they're very vulnerable in that area. I think it's actually pretty impressive to me that Bryce Young only ended up with 1 sack. It was a big sack, but he only ended up with 1 sack in that game. He did throw 2 interceptions, so maybe an extra sack or 2 wouldn't have been the worst choice. But I think it should be a very interesting game to walk in. I think that it's a neat opportunity for the Cards to continue to have a couple of games to get the ship right and move in a positive direction early in the season and figure out that, like you said, finding out. I don't think anyone knew what he was at an NFL level until now, and you still don't know for sure. Did he just make a big play, or is this who he is? And so, I think it's another game to get to figure those things out because, man, a lot of things were not working for Bryce. He was 18 for 35 passing. Where were those balls going? So it'll be interesting to see if y'all. And I like your point about the turnovers as well. Is if you can start producing some turnovers on defense, that's going to make y'all significantly more effective as an overall team. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball, what you talked about against the Saints, we can't allow 5 sacks. I don't know if it was Kyler being sick or just first week jitters or something, but whatever it was, that needs to get buttoned up because that'll change a game real quick. And then on offense, we have to get back to getting the run game really going. Jaguars' run game worked great against the Panthers. They can. I think we can because I don't have the greatest opinion of the Jaguars' run game week to week.
Right.
I know that some of what they had successful on the ground was big plays. But at the same time, they were running the ball at a pretty good clip even before that big old 71-yarder. So definitely need to get our run game going. And then just play to your strengths, I guess, with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. I'd like to see continued steps there. And don't turn the ball over. Just little simple things. I'm hoping that we get a different officiating crew and that maybe it's not week 1 for them either. And they're like, hey, you know what? We don't need to throw 25 flags in this game. So, because
that's a good point.
I'm complaining about the officiating. Let me keep in mind, it was lopsided slightly in our favor, 9-13. The 9 was Arizona. So I just don't like a lot of officiating. I think it really messes with the game in negative ways. And so I would just like to see less of that. But hopefully, whatever amount of that was legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate like they're cheating, but I just mean was actual penalties worthy of being called, will be people calming down and getting less holding calls and false starts and things like that. So just a smoother game is what I'm hoping against the Panthers. It'll be a home opener for us, so that'll be good. But yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Now, last week you pointed out, now I'm curious if you'll be able to pull off this again. You pulled out Trey Benson being the guy to watch, and boy, did he have a big play and all of that. Who's your guy to watch if you're like, man, I'm really interested to see how this guy, maybe it's the right fit against this team, or maybe it's just somebody you're really keeping an eye on. Who's the guy you really are going to be keeping an eye on coming into this particular game, these particular matchups?
I don't know that I have much of a new name. I'm always waiting for Darius Robinson, the defensive lineman, to have a breakout game where he has, a big play, gets a sack or something like that. And I do think it will happen at some point. I don't know that that's necessarily this week. I think this will be back to a Trey McBride week. I have a feeling this will be a Trey McBride week. I think J.C. Horn will do a good enough job at making passes to Marvin Harrison Jr. a little more risky than they want to bother with. Just why? We could throw at their best player on their defense, or we could throw to Trey McBride being covered by Luke. So, not Luke Kuechly, thank goodness. So, So I think it will be, as far as star players go for the Cardinals. I mean, Will Johnson to have a good game, hopefully shutting down Tedero McMillan. But yeah, I don't know that there's an up and comer that I've got that's going to be jumping up like Trey Benson did. Hopefully we'll see more Trey Benson too. So we'll see.
I would guess that he's improved his chances of that after this last week. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch for sure. And we are looking forward to it. And all the week 2 matchups, we'll be going more into that coming up soon. But so we are coming up on 100 subscribers, but heading towards that. So thank you to everyone who already is. And if you would love to, we would definitely appreciate if you wanted to join as a subscriber as well. Outside of that, everyone have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.